Stampers, Kim from stampingimperfection.com. Welcome to my craft room. I wanted to show you the instructions for making the magazine style embossing folder and framelit and thinlit holders. So I'll try to make this as quick as possible and as easy to follow as possible. I'll do my best. There are 3 pieces of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm using the thick Whisper White cardstock. So what I'm going to do, this is 8.5 by 11. I'm going to extend out my arm here. My foot is already down. And the first piece, since it's 8.5 wide, I'm going to turn it the 11-inch way, and I'm going to cut this down to 7 inches. Because I want this to be 7 by 8.5. So I'm just going to cut this hunk off. And then I'm going to turn it so that the 8.5 side goes like this, and I'm going to score it. I'm going to move the edge of this over to 5.5, and with my scoring blade I'm just going to score it. Okay, and then I want to, this gives me a piece that when I fold it, I have 5.5 by 7 and 3 by 7. So I want to take this 3-inch flap, and I'm going to turn this sideways. I want this to be short, and at 3, I chose 3.5 because it just leaves half the height for the front of my embossing folder holder. And I'm moving this to where I have the fold, about where I have the fold. This is 3.5, so I'm cutting this from the fold over to 3.5. And then I'm going to use my paper snips and just cut down. Doesn't matter which side you cut down. You could do this on your trim if you wanted to. There you go. So it looks like this. Now what I'm going to do, I want to make this diagonal, and I'm going to go from here diagonal up, but I want to leave about 1 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a marker, and I'm going to use a marker so you can see it. I'm going to move this over to the inch mark here, and where the well is, I'm going to mark it just like that. Okay? And then I'm going to take that mark I just made and line it up with the well, and take this corner right here where the 2 cuts meet, and that corner is going to go right in the well. And then I'm just going to cut from that point to the corner point, pull that off, and I've got my diagonal. And this will be the front and the side of my magazine holder. Now the second piece that I have to cut is going to be, I'm going to cut the 7 by 9.5 inch piece. So I'm going to cut this is 9.5 inches, so along the 11-inch side I'm going to just cut off 1.5 inches. So I'm lining it up with 9.5, cutting off this 1.5 inch piece. Then I'm going to turn it the 8.5 inch side, and I need this to be 7. I want it to be 7 inches tall all around. So again, I'm cutting off 1.5 inches. So this is 7 by 9.5. Now I'm going to score it 3 times. I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch, and I'm using this. I find scoring at 1/2 inch easier to line up with the scoring marks on the right hand side of the blade. So I'm going to line that up. So that's 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to score it at 6 inches. So I'm flipping that over. And then I'm going to score it 1/2 inch from the end again. So I have a 1/2 inch flap now on both sides. So I have 1/2 inch by 7, I have 5.5 by 7, then this flap is 3.5 inches, or 3 inches by 7, and then 1/2 inch. Now I also want the side of this to be diagonal this way, and again I'm going to take this 3-inch score mark and I'm going to just line it up. You could use a ruler for this if you find that easier. I'm lining it up with the well because I love this trimmer. I just find the lines are just nice and dark and easy to read. So I'm going to mark that at 1/2 inch, excuse me, at 1 inch. Because remember I left a 1 inch tab before on the other one. I'm going to do the same thing here. And then I'm going to turn this sideways, and I'm going to mark the height at 3.5 inches. So I'm going to mark that right there. That's going to be 3.5 inches. So this is 3.5 inches, this is 3.5 inches, and this is 1 inch over from this score mark. And again, I'm going to take those two pieces and line them up in the well. See how I have this mark lined up in the well and that mark lined up in the well? And then I'm going to use my cutting blade and just cut them. So again, this is going to form the back and the other side of my piece. I have one more piece to make, and this piece is going to form the bottom of my box. So I'm going to do 4 by 6.5. So I'm just cutting this 4 by 6.5. And then I'm just going to score 1/2 inch on each side. All 4 sides get scored 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch, and again I'm lining it up with the 1/2 inch on the right hand side of my cutting well or scoring well. So 1/2 inch all around. Just like that. And while I've got my cutter out, now I'll tell you what you need. You're going to need one piece, and I don't think any of these are wide enough. How long is this? Oh, this one might work. You need one piece cut at 2.5 by 6.5. So this, I can get 6.5 out of this. This is going to be a hodgepodge of papers, but they all come from the Bohemian Designer Series paper. I'm going to make it 2.5 inches wide. So this is one piece at 2.5 by 6.5 inches. Okay, that's one. That's going to go on the back. I'm going to take one piece, and this needs to be 2.5 by 3. This is going to be a 1/2 inch too small, but I'm using my scraps for this project. Okay, and then I need 2 pieces cut at 5 by 6.5. See if I have any of those. I'll use these. 2 pieces cut at 5 and 6.5. So for your DSP, these, you need 2 pieces cut at 5 by 6.5. Mine are going to be a little bit short. I believe these are already cut at 5 by 6. Now I want to make that diagonal, and here's the trick. To make the diagonal with your Designer Series paper, you want to put the 2 like sides together, because you need one to go on this side and one to go on this side of your paper holder. And I'm going to mark this along one of the sides at 2.5 inches. I'm just going to make 2.5 inches. Oh, this is 6. I'm going to make it 3 inches. So let's make it 3 inches. That should work. And then I'm going to go to the diagonal on the other side. So I've got my mark here, and then I'm just going to tip this so the diagonal, so when I make the diagonal cut, the corner of the 2 pieces is on the opposite side, like that. So I end up with this piece, just like that. And I have 2 pieces that'll work on opposite sides of the thing. That's the trick. That's all the cutting I'm going to do. The next thing you're going to do is put your box together. Let me make sure I have this. Alright, so this will go like this. And so I have the diagonal part to the right. I'm going to put down my tear and tape, and I only need tear and tape on the 2 1/2 inch flaps. In fact, the only place I'm putting the tear and tape is on anything that's measured at 1.5 inch, or excuse me, at 1/2 inches. The only place I'm putting my tear and tape are on all of the 1/2 inch flaps that I've done. So if I take the bottom, and I'll just fold this so you can see this. These are 1/2 inch flaps all around. So this one, it doesn't really matter which side. And I'm just going to put the tear and tape down on each side. the thing about the red two-sided tape, it's so much easier to see on camera. I don't know how well you can see this. Just like this. Alright, let's make the bottom of our box first. Now I'm going to make 4 cuts. I'm going to cut this right here, this little flap along the score line, so that when I fold this up, that's going to be my flap that I'm going to attach to the inside. I'm just going to make a little box bottom. So, and it really doesn't matter which ones you cut, as long as you don't cut the whole thing off. You just want to cut one of those score marks. I could have cut the other direction, it doesn't matter. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is form. First of all, I'm just going to burnish this down to make sure I have this really sticking. Okay, oops. And then I'm going to just remove these little corners. This is my least favorite part of any project, removing the paper from the two-sided sticky tape. Okay, and now I'm just going to fold this up on each corner. I'm folding the flaps in because that's where the sticky stuff is, and nobody's going to see this part, so if it doesn't match perfectly, it doesn't matter. Okay, so then the next part, let's take this piece. I'm going to remove all the sticky paper along the edge of this bottom. So we've got the box all created. I've taken the paper off the sticky sides. Now you want to be careful when you do this because, let me make sure I'm doing this correctly. You don't have to make one of these boxes wrong. Okay, this is how it's going to go together. And you could put this together first and then fit it over the box. I found it easier to do it like this. So I'm folding this side up, and then I'm sliding this right up to the side, right up to the score mark, and I'm lining it up with the bottom, just like that. And I'm just going to fold that side up like that, and then I'm just going to bend it over, and again I'm lining it up with the bottom of the paper. The corner of the box is being lined up with the bottom of the paper, and I'll fold that up so I have this part done already. So now I'm going to take the paper off the, this Terran tape, in case you've never heard of it before, is two-sided sticky tape, and it is sticky. If you touch this to something once you have the paper off, it sticks, so you want to be very careful not to do that. Now I'm going to match the big side first, and I start down here in the corner. I'm just going to line up either the long side or the short side, and I got it a little tiny bit crooked, but that's okay. There we go. And then I'm just going to fold this over and line this up. There we go, like that. And then I'm just going to press along the insides to make sure I got all the seams. Make sure they're all... It doesn't have to be perfect. Right, now I didn't create any mats or do anything fancy. I haven't even cut this so it's, you know, perfect here anyway. I just wanted some white around. And this paper, realize, is retired paper. These holders will last, depending on how much you handle them and how much you put in them, they'll last about 1.5 years to 2 years, or until I get sick of them. And since I'm organizing my craft room, one of the things I'm doing is I'm using up some retired supplies. So, and I'm enjoying using up retired supplies. Like I've used up 2 complete packages of designer series paper. I have little bitty scraps left. Okay, now you could cut this so that there's not quite so much. Remember, mine's a half a piece too short because I'm using scraps, and this is super crooked. But you get the idea. You can decorate yours. Like, if I were making this, this would also make a great card holder as a gift. If I were making this, I would be cutting this to, you know, with more precision and accuracy and fitting it to the sides. I'm not doing that. I just want a little color on it. It's going to be sitting on my shelf. You know, I'm using, like I said, leftover pieces. This one's way too narrow, but it is going to fit here. And this one, the other thing that I did was I used some also retired ribbons, and I picked a wide one. Oh my goodness, this designer series paper is really crooked. I'm just cutting this to size, and I'm going to use glue dots to put it on, and I'll put glue dots all around, but so I can finish this video in a timely manner, I'm just going to put a couple on the back. And I'm trying to put this toward the top of the front. I figured the higher up it went, the more stability it would give this. Because this will give it a little, it'll give it a little bit of stability and hold the project together. There we go. And then there's this retired ribbon that coordinates with the paper, the rich razzleberry. And all I did nothing fancy here. Like, nothing at all. Now you'll find the written cutting instructions on my website. So the cutting and scoring, so you know where to cut and score. And this is the smaller of my two sizes. Now I'm going to put more. I'm going to put more glue dots on this to hold it in place, but you get the idea. And let me show you one that's done. The one that I just made is this size. This holds the regular embossing folders and the die cut, or the framelits and thinlits. And you can see I took more care with, not that much more care. The only side I'm going to see is this. You could add some stamping, you could add some pretty embellishments, you could add a contrasting color matte. I wasn't that worried about making it perfect because pretty much I'm the only one that comes into my craft room downstairs. And then this is a larger size. This holds the large framelits and thinlits, like the gift box, and it holds the larger embossing folders. So I've got two sizes. The measurements and the scoring measurements are on my website on a printable handout. So you can go to stampingimperfection.com or click the link below and it'll take you right to the blog post that has the printable. So I hope you enjoy this, and whether you use new stuff or whether you use up your scraps and retired stuff that you've used for a ton of other projects and you have just enough left over to make something like this, whichever you do, it'll make you feel good to use up some of your stuff, but it'll also make you feel good every time you look at the shelf that you have your organized thinlits, framelits, and embossing folders on. It will make you feel really good. So this is an organizing project for your craft room, for your thinlits, framelits, and embossing folders. But you can also, since it's July now, I'm thinking about making Christmas gifts, and I'm thinking if I more carefully measured and more carefully made my sides and everything, I could use these to hold a set of cards that I created for someone with the envelopes, everything, as a Christmas gift or as a back-to-school gift, or whatever you need, a hostess gift, whatever you need a gift for. So thanks for watching. Stop on my blog at stampingimperfection.com.